Hi, I'm Yoram Solomon. I'm the founder of Large Scale Creativity. I'm going to start shooting a series of videos to talk about the culture of innovation. This is going to be the introduction video, so I want to tell you a bit about myself and how I got to where I am now. Well, first of all, I started as an engineer. I worked as an engineer for many years. All I needed is just a development system. I would sit down, write software, develop hardware, but not really interact with people. I was fine without any people. But that changed. One day, I'm going to tell you a few of my pivotal points in my career that got me to where I am. So one day, after I developed this alarm system that was supposed to penetrate the US market, this was done in Israel, I flew over to the US. I sat down with our sales department in Boulder, Colorado, and we started defining what this new alarm system needed to be. After that, I flew back to Israel. I developed that system. And they said that we were going to be selling probably 10,000 units a month, which is pretty good for that size company and that type of system. It took me about a year to develop the system, send it over to the US. People started buying it, but they bought 700 and then it leveled off. And so I tried to understand why it leveled off, and the company, for the most part, was willing to give up on this. We were not very successful. But I insisted on meeting some of the customers. Remember, at that time, I'm still an engineer. So I met with one, met with the second. With the third one, he sat me down and he said, just to give you a background, he had 100 systems in his warehouse. He installed one and the other 99 were still waiting. So I asked him, why didn't you install all 100? And he said, son, my installers are truck drivers. It took me about 3 to 6 months to train each one of them how to program the alarm systems that we currently use. I like your alarm system. It's a good system. It's a competitive price. We trust you. But I'm not spending this kind of time training my installers to install your system now. That's when I learned that it's not the technology itself, it's not necessarily the product as it is how people use the product. I made a few changes. I made it simpler to program, more like the systems that they used at that point, and they started selling 15,000 units a month. It was a success, but it made me think. The second story was related more to when I was working on my PhD dissertation. And so at that time, I needed to come up with a topic, and I worked with my mentor. And my mentor, I told him what idea I had for that dissertation, what topic, and he said, I hear you, but I don't feel the passion. I don't feel passion in that topic. And so he started poking me and prodding me and pushing me to try and get something out of me, get a real topic out of me. And I was getting increasingly annoyed. And at some point he asked this question. He asked, what pisses you off? Now, my first instinct was to say, well, you right now. But he actually, at that time, you need to remember that I worked in several startups, including starting my own startup. And at this point, I was working for Texas Instruments, a company with 35,000 employees. So when he asked, what pisses you off? I said, you know what pisses me off? Why are people so much more creative when they work for startups than when they work for mature companies? There was silence on the other side of the line. And then he said, I think we have a topic. That started a 2-year research, qualitative research through interviews across the world to understand and answer exactly that question. What makes people so much more creative when they work in startups than when they work in mature companies? For the most part, when people ask me, so what's the answer? I resent that question because it took me 2 years. You want me, the dissertation is 348 pages. You want me to boil it down to just one sentence? But I actually found that I can boil it down to one word: culture. Having a culture of innovation. Startups have it, large companies, for the most part, don't. And that led me to the path that I'm in right now.